New York City is an icon of constant renewal, where skyscrapers rise and fall in a harsh cycle of development. But hidden behind the modern skyline are the ghosts of architectural masterpieces that were erased by economic pressure, skyrocketing land values, and strict zoning regulations. Today, we will analyze the iconic lost landmarks of New York City, from magnificent opera houses to buildings that once held world records, to understand why they disappeared. If you cherish historical and architectural values, please share this video and subscribe to the Old Photo History channel so you don't miss out on any fascinating videos. Now, let's begin. The Hippodrome stood proudly on 6th Avenue between 44th and 44th Streets from 1905 to 1939. It was one of the largest theaters of its time, boasting a massive seating capacity of 5,200. The old Metropolitan Opera House was built in 1883, right near Times Square. It served as the first home of the Metropolitan Opera Company, but was tragically demolished in 1967 as performances moved to Lincoln Center. An early incarnation of Madison Square Garden was once located between 5th and Madison Avenues and 26th and 27th Streets. This historic arena was completely demolished in 1926. The Hotel Astor was built in 1904 at the bustling corner of Broadway and 44th Street. It was torn down in 1967 and is now occupied by a modern high-rise. The Ziegfeld Theater on 54th Street and 6th Avenue opened in 1927 with a grand performance of Rio Rita. It was shockingly torn down in 1966 just to make room for a skyscraper. The Brooklyn Savings Bank was completed in Brooklyn Heights in 1894. While it was heralded as an architectural masterpiece, it sadly faced the wrecking ball in 1964. The New York World, New York Tribune, and New York Times were all located on the famous newspaper row near City Hall. The World and Tribune buildings were demolished, but the Times building still stands, though it is no longer home to the newspaper. The Singer Building in Lower Manhattan was completed in 1908 and served as the prestigious headquarters of the Singer Manufacturing Company. It was gone by 1968. Located near the Singer Building, the City Investing Tower was an oddly shaped structure that was raised in 1986. Nearby, Hudson Terminal, a vital rail station, closed in 1971 and was later demolished. The Komodo Hotel was built in 1919, just east of Grand Central Terminal. In 1980, it was completely remodeled, and today it is known as the Grand Hyatt Unite. The St. Paul Building opened in 1999 on Lower Broadway and was named after the beautiful chapel across the street. It was eventually knocked down in 1958. The Gillender Building was completed in the Financial District in 1897, but it stood for only 10 years. It was destroyed in 1910 to be replaced by an even bigger building. The Central Park Casino was a high-end restaurant and nightclub in the late 1800s. It was permanently knocked down by Parks Commissioner Robert Moses in 1936. The Germania Clubhouse was a social club on Schermerhorn Street in Brooklyn. It was demolished in the 1920s for a single reason: to make room for a subway. In 1867, Congregation Emmanuel constructed a temple at 43rd Street and 5th Avenue. It was sold in 1926 and demolished for commercial development just 1 year later. The Washington Building, overlooking the Battery, was constructed in 1885. It was completely remodeled with an entirely new facade in 1921. Richmond Hill was a massive 26-acre colonial estate in what is now Greenwich Village. It was purchased by Aaron Burr in 1794 and finally razed in 1849. The impressive Church of the Disciples, located at 45th Street and Madison Avenue, did not make it into the 20th century. Built in 1773, it was demolished soon after, in 1899. The Savoy Plaza Hotel was constructed in 1927 on 5th Avenue between 58th and 59th Streets. In 1964, this elegant structure was torn down. The Exchange Court building in Lower Manhattan was erected in 1898. In 1980, it was converted into a modern office building. Lewisstone Stadium was an open-air amphitheater on the campus of the City College of New York. It opened in 1915 but was destroyed in 1973 to make way for a new academic center. The Vanderbilt family built a number of mansions on Fifth Avenue in the 1880s. The home of Cornelius Vanderbilt II was the largest private residence ever constructed in Manhattan. William Kissam Vanderbilt's Petit Chateau, built in 1882, was located at 52nd Street and Fifth Avenue. It was demolished to make way for a commercial building in 1926. The Triple Palace, a series of townhouses built for the Vanderbilt family, stood directly south on Fifth Avenue. They were all knocked down in the 1940s. Construction of the New York Produce Exchange building began in 1881 to replace an older exchange. This grand newer building was then demolished in 1957. The Samuel Osgood House was the very first presidential mansion where George Washington lived for 2 years. It was sadly demolished in 1856. The Equitable Life Building was built in 1870 in Lower Manhattan. In 1912, it was utterly destroyed by a devastating fire. The John Wolfe Building was built in 1995 in the Financial District. It was demolished in 1974 for the sole purpose of widening the street. The Cotton Exchange Building was completed in 1885 in Hanover Square. It later became the India House, a private club. The original Penn Station was built in 1910. It was sold and destroyed in 1962 to make room for a larger rail station and Madison Square Garden. The Navarro Flats, a luxury apartment building, stood on Central Park South in 1882. In 1926, the building was sold and businesses took its place. The City Hall Post Office first opened in 1878. The design was not well received, and it was demolished in 1938, just 1 year ahead of the World's Fair. Tammany Hall was the headquarters of the Democratic Party for decades. The building on East 14th Street was built in 1830 and was demolished in 1927 to make room for a new tower. The New York Tombs, a prison that also housed courts, was built in 1838. However, the foundation was weak and the building began to sink. It was replaced and finally demolished in 1974. The luxurious Biltmore Hotel opened on 43rd Street and Madison Avenue in 1913. It closed and was gutted in 1981. Built for Senator William Clark in 1897, the Clark Mansion had 25 bedrooms. It was the childhood of reclusive heiress Huguette Clark and was torn down in the late 1920s. The Union Dime Savings Bank building first opened in 1906 near Bryant Park. It was demolished 50 years later in 1956. Wanamaker's was a popular department store in the early 1900s. It tragically caught fire and was demolished in 1956. The All Angels Episcopal Church was lavishly appointed with a Tiffany window. Built in 1890, it was torn down in 1979 and replaced with a residential high-rise. Astor House, which opened in 1836, was considered the finest hotel in America, counting Abraham Lincoln among its guests. It was demolished in stages between 1913 and 1926. Temple Beth El was constructed in 1891 at the corner of 76th Street and 5th Avenue. The building was sold in 1945 and demolished shortly after for an apartment house. The Richard Speight House was built in 1882 to satisfy a personal grudge by blocking the view of another building. This four-story building stood until 1915. Steel magnate Charles Schwab built an ornate 75-room mansion on Riverside Drive. It was completed in 1905 and publicly demolished in 1948. This home was built in 1884 for the president of the Metropolitan Museum of Art. In 1912, it was destroyed to make room for an apartment building. The original Waldorf Astoria Hotel opened in 1997. It was destroyed in 1929 to make way for the Empire State Building, and the hotel moved to Park Avenue. Hotel Piccadilly was constructed in 1928 on West 45th Street. In 1982, it was replaced by a newer hotel, the Marriott Marquise. The New York Herald Building, headquarters of the newspaper, was built in 1894 at 34th Street and Broadway. It was destroyed in 1921. A Victory Arch was erected near Madison Square Park in 1919 after World War I ended. It was a temporary structure built of wood and eventually was torn down. Pennsylvania Station, originally built in 1910, was torn down in 1963 to make way for the construction of Madison Square Garden. Steeplechase Park, one of Coney Island's last remaining grand amusement parks, was torn down with the intent of building a modern Miami Beach high-rise. Brocard Mansions, three lovely French Renaissance-style mansions, once stood at 79th Street and 5th Avenue. They were the center of a bitter building battle. The loss of these 50-plus iconic structures is not merely an architectural shift, but a testament to a New York that never stands still. From the lavish Vanderbilt mansions to the original Penn Station and the once record-breaking Singer Building, every demolition reflects the immense pressure of land values and the hunger for modernization. These architectural ghosts remind us of the cost of progress at the expense of heritage. In your opinion, should New York prioritize preserving old values or continue tearing them down to reach for the future? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, and subscribe to Old Photo History so you don't miss our next journeys back in time.